Good morning, everybody. I want to thank all of you all for coming out to this press briefing. We are at Dunbar High School this morning. It's been an interesting week for me. We had a budget town hall meeting at Logan Elementary School. Last night we had a sustainability event at Langley Junior High School, Langley Middle School now, and today we are at Dunbar High School. And the reason you're asking what is he raising that for? A purely coincidence. I happen to have graduated from Logan Elementary School, graduated from Langley Junior High School, as it was then, and of course I went to Dunbar High School as well. Not this one, not this one, but it's a fantastic new building, and we're really honored to be able to be here. And it's a wonderful example of the investments that we're making in sustainability here in the city. Yesterday was Earth Day, of course. And the celebrations are continuing throughout the week. So we thought this would be a good time to be able to present to those of you who are here our progress on the Sustainable D.C. Plan. We launched the plan 1 year ago, and I'm delighted to report great progress, showing that our government, with the help of the community and private partners, has been a national leader in sustainability. What more fitting place than to be at this brand new high school, which is the district's first LEED Platinum public school, and you'll hear more about that in a few minutes. When I called for the creation of the Sustainable D.C. Plan, back at the start of my administration, this was back in July of 2011, I said then, and I continue to say, that we need to have lofty goals. We need to aim for the top. We need to be able to be the best that we can possibly be to make our city the greenest, the healthiest, and the most livable in the nation, if not the entire world. After more than 12 months of input from hundreds of volunteers and interested citizens and others, we focused in on 4 challenges. 1, growing jobs in the economy, improving health and wellness, ensuring equity and diversity, and protecting the climate and our local environment. Today, I'm happy to report that the first year of implementing the plan has been a great success. They say you should make every day Earth Day, and I happen to agree with that, and that's what people across the District of Columbia now are doing. This is especially true within our district government, and you're going to hear from a couple of our agency directors shortly. That would be Keith Anderson and Brian Hanlon, both of whom are here. We are leading the way, we think, with innovative ideas. There are 143 initiatives in the plan. We have 83% of them, even though it's a 20-year plan, 83% of them are underway. 9 of them are completed in this first year, and 104 are now in the performance plans of our agencies across the District of Columbia government. You may have heard about some of the successes that we've got 25 unique and innovative new playgrounds in place. We're working on 15 more to reach the goal of 40 that we established. We've planted almost 9,300 new trees in the city. We have 10 more green schools that have opened. We have 5 community gardens that have been developed and are now ready for they're growing food, let's put it that way. And we also just heard yesterday that once again the district leads the nation in green roof installation. Other actions that people might not find so compelling or sexy as some of those things will obviously play a hugely important role in the future of the city. A new building code is now in place to ensure greener and more efficient buildings. There's new stormwater regulations and green infrastructure standards for streets that will help the cleaning and protect the streams and rivers. Our Office of Contracting and Procurement is rolling out the city's first green procurement program under the leadership of James Staten. An environmental literacy curriculum is rolling out in our schools across the District of Columbia. And, of course, we're building thousands of affordable units, or preserving thousands of affordable units of housing here in the District of Columbia. We're making substantial investments to build a more sustainable city, and I'd like to think that we are very much in the forefront nationally in this effort. Some of you may be familiar with our D.C. Innovation Challenge, a grant program that has invested already $8.5 million in sustainability efforts. For example, we have the anti-idling police cruisers that reduce dirty emissions and generate cleaner air, the solar, green, and cool roof projects for our schools and recreation centers. In addition to the number of trees I already mentioned, at 1,500 additional trees for parks and schoolyards, and the new kitchens, greenhouses, and nurseries that are expanding our urban agriculture. The fiscal year 15 budget plan, which was released earlier this month, also makes major investments in capital projects. $4.2 billion for 139 capital projects that will be in place, be worked on over the next several years between 2015 and 2020. And this includes more green schools, more green recreation centers, our streetcars, greener roads, and more green and affordable housing. And also, we've made progress in terms of policies and legislation affecting sustainability here in the District of Columbia. With the help of our City Council, we got past the Sustainable D.C. Act of 2012 and now have introduced the Sustainable D.C. Act of 2013. The latest proposals, and some of you may be familiar with these, would ban styrofoam, takeout containers to help clean our streams. It would provide incentives for natural gas and electric vehicles to reduce air pollution and expand access to pre-tax transit benefits for employees citywide. Some of you may be familiar with what's called bandalongs. We're using those in the tributaries to the Anacostia River, and they are like trash traps. And they're picking up a lot of the styrofoam, but if we can keep it out of the waterways in the first place, we won't need to have as many bandalongs and trash traps as we do now. We're also looking further down the road and charging 11 task forces of agency and private sector stakeholders with tackling complicated questions like how can we grow our green economy, how can we ensure green and healthy affordable housing, and how can we ensure access to healthy, affordable food and beautiful parks. So all across our government, agencies, and the private sector partners, folks are working smarter and working together to create a sustainable city. Our Sustainable D.C. effort is coordinated with a number of other agency initiatives. For example, Play D.C., which is the new Department of Parks and Recreation Master Plan, Move D.C., which is the new DDOT transportation plan, Resilient D.C., the Department of Health's community-based plan to protect residents in the event of disasters, and then Age-Friendly D.C., which is a multi-year initiative that is literally going block by block and looking at the condition of our city to be able to try to ensure that we have an age-friendly city to the extent that we possibly can. I want to thank our city administrator and the staff who are working with him, the directors and staff from our Green Cabinet agencies for their dedication and hard work of all these efforts. And we're going to be convening a meeting soon, in the next days really, of our Green Cabinet and our Green Committee, both of which played an instrumental role in helping us to get to where we are today. But again, we're not alone in getting this work done, because there are many stories of leadership by members of communities across the District of Columbia. Last night, as I indicated, we met at the Langley Education campus for our Sustainability in Action event, yesterday, of course, being Earth Day. We were there last night because we wanted to to demonstrate the savings, the challenges that we already are engaged in, and which we're calling Sprint to Savings. Over the course of 3 weeks, students and staff have shut down unused computers, turned off lights, and lowered the heat at night to reduce their electricity. And again, the reason why we were at Langley last night is because Langley achieved a 30% reduction in electricity use as a result of their conservation efforts, and they were the winner. And it was a great example of what can be done when the teachers and schools and administrators work effectively together. I want to acknowledge a few other efforts also, and that is our universities and thought leaders in this field. Through the College and University Sustainability Pledge, the 9 district-based campuses are working together to spread cutting-edge practices. Universities, of course, are the largest private sector employer in the District of Columbia, so what they do is making a huge difference. Also, our embassies, the international community here in the District of Columbia, have entered into a sustainability pledge, and they're working to be able to create more green roofs and other commitments to sustainability. We want to thank the State Department and specifically Landon Van Dyke and his staff for their tremendous support. Finally, I want to acknowledge the efforts of the Downtown D.C. Business Improvement District, which helped to lead our D.C. Smarter Business Challenge pilot last year. This pilot is about to expand citywide to engage even more building owners and tenants in this effort. The Downtown D.C. bid also created the Downtown Eco District, and that effort, too, is now spreading citywide. This September, the district will host the International Eco District Summit at our new Convention Center Hotel, which will open next month. I guess it's a matter of days before we are opening the Marriott Marquis. And we'll be able to spotlight for a world audience the amazing progress that we're making through public-private development projects across the entire city. And of course, for us, all this progress is exciting, but in many ways, we have to recognize that with a 20-year plan, the work is really just beginning, and we're just finishing the first year of it. I don't think there's any question that we need to sustain our energy and sustain our focus and continue to work together to bring these things, continue to bring them to reality. I'm proud of what we have accomplished, and we're going to continue to work hard through some of the most difficult challenges, one of which is changing people's own attitudes and awareness and change the culture here in the District of Columbia around what sustainability means and what our commitment to it is. Today, we're #1 in use of renewable green power, but we also can be #1 in reliable, affordable energy. Today, the District of Columbia is #1 in green and healthy buildings, but we also can be #1 in having healthy adults and children here in the District of Columbia. Today, we're #1 for installing green roofs and promoting use of green transit, for want of a better way of putting it, but we also can build on these successes to be #1 in the creation of green jobs, and there's lots of jobs that will be created in the years ahead, for which we want to use our workforce development system to be able to train people. It's one of the reasons why we're focusing so heavily on our community college, our Workforce Investment Council, the workforce intermediaries, the career and technical education academies that will be opened in the next few months, and of course the Department of Employment Services to be able to do that. So our Earth Day celebrations will continue certainly throughout the week, but should be celebrated on a year-round basis. I want to thank the people across this government who work so hard. I especially want to thank the Department of the Environment and Director Keith Anderson for the work they've done, and Brendan Shane, who's done a lot of work on this. Brendan, I want to thank you as well for the outstanding work that you've done. And also, we couldn't get this done in our own buildings, but for a forward-thinking effort in the Department of General Services, which is headed by Brian Hanlon. So I'd like to ask each of them now if they would come up, starting with Keith, to say a few words about what we've been able to do in this first year and then where we are heading. I hope many of you will read the placards that are up around the room, because they have data that we are proud of, and I don't have any doubt that that data will be added to in the months and the years ahead as we continue to be a leader in sustainability and, frankly, become, if we're not already, the most sustainable city in the nation, if not the world. Keith?
Thank you, Mayor Gray, and good morning, everyone. I must say, it's a pleasure to be here this morning to celebrate the progress that we've made over the first year of implementing the Sustainable DC Plan. As some of you may not know, this process started in July of 2011, when the mayor had a vision of making the District of Columbia the healthiest, greenest, and most livable city in the United States, if not the world. And through an enormous amount of community engagement and input, partnerships with the public and private partners, and working with our sister agencies, we developed a plan that was released in February of 2013. And we are here today celebrating the fruits of our labor. And I'd just like to congratulate everyone on their efforts, especially the 6,000 community members that have played a role in this. Our public and private partners, such as Scott Ankeny, who launched the Do It for DC Challenge to help residents green their daily lives and save money. The mayor already mentioned Scott Pomeroy, who's been a tremendous help in helping us lead this effort. I'd also like to recognize all of the members of the Green Cabinet that is headed up by our City Administrator, Alan Liu, and all 27 directors, one of who is here today, Mr. Brian Hanlon, for their tremendous efforts in making this a reality. And also the Director of the Office of Planning, Ellen McCarthy, who's now on board and will help drive this home. But most importantly, as the mayor has already done, I'd like to recognize the staff at the District Department of the Environment, who from day one have taken this ball and moved it down the field, who have attended over 125 meetings, reaching out to 6,000 residents. They've really made this happen. So the Office of Policy and Sustainability, headed up by Brendan Shane and supported by Dan Gilbo and the rest of the team, thank you so much, because you're making this a reality. And this is sustainability in action, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Keith. Yeah, I'm really grateful to have an opportunity to serve the district and to be a part of this effort, this initiative, which is so deeply important to me. I want to start by, of course, thanking the mayor for his dedication and vision and his just enormous grasp of how vitally important all of these issues are to not just our current lives, but the lives of our children and maybe one day grandchildren, at least for me. That's a few years off. And of course, love working with Keith. It's been a great partnership, and I'm very proud of the work that we have done together. We're standing now in, of course, the new Dunbar High School. Dunbar is a LEED Platinum school. Now, LEED Platinum is impressive, but one of the things that I want to point out is that you can have all the LEED certification points you can get, but it doesn't amount to a whole lot if you're not also working in the direction of making sure that you're driving down carbon load and that you're doing the utmost to make sure that you're also reducing the impact to our water resources. And so this building is an example of a multifaceted approach. We have on top of this building a solar array that is equivalent to about 500 kilowatts of power. 1,900 solar panels adding up to about 500 kilowatts. Just to give you a quick sense, we will this year begin implementation of a 10 megawatt array, which is about 12% or so of the district's load, the municipal, school, parks and rec, all of our facilities load. That's 27 million square feet. So we're very proud of that. This 500 kilowatts that are here were structured through the first power purchase agreement, or PPA, that the district has ever negotiated. And it was a heavy lift, but we got there. And I want to just pause briefly and thank a number of folks that helped us internally. My sustainability and energy team is led by Sam Brooks and, of course, Mark Chambers. They're actually at another event right now. DGS is hosting a green contracting event right now over at 200 I Street, another one of our buildings, also LEED Platinum. That building and this building share another characteristic, and that is the use of water cisterns to take storm water from the roof and store it. In this building, it's two 20,000-gallon tanks, and that water is used as gray water for flushing internally. Over at 200 I Street, the water is used actually for landscaping at Canal Park, and it's used during the colder months for ice skating. So it's that kind of thinking, that kind of integrated systems thinking that I think is helping to make a difference. We also have out here, as you see, the rest of the athletic facilities are underway. This school, when it is fully complete, will have 358 geothermal wells. Right now, I think there are 44 left to dig. 358 geothermal wells, each about 500 feet deep. And Teddy was just giving me some fun facts over there. It's about 63 miles of tubing, if you add it all up, all the tubing going up and down inside these geos. So you could almost wrap the tubing around the district twice. And it's, anyway, it's that kind of systems approach that I think is helping to make a difference. I'm grateful to be a part of it, and I want to again thank the mayor and my fellow directors. Thank you.
All right. You know, as one more example of sustainability in the District of Columbia, we obviously have an increasingly sustainable professional basketball team. They won 2 games now in Chicago and looking good. So let's celebrate the Wizards while we can. They did very well last night and the last couple of days. August 22nd. Okay. I was just asking Brian what the date of completion is out here. It'll be August 22nd, which I guess will be in time for the next football season. This will look like as close to a college campus as you can get with a high school in an urban environment as possible when this is completed out here. So that having been said, let me open it up for any questions that you all may have about the sustainability efforts. Yes.
Does the environmental education component in the school...
Can you identify who you're with?
I'm Malcolm Kenton. I write for Greater Washington, but I'm just representing myself. Does the environmental education component in the schools involve efforts to get kids, particularly inner city kids, more exposure to the natural world and in the outdoors? Like
yeah.
That?
You know, I stopped using the term inner city because I don't know what it means anymore. So let me, as part of your education, let me get you to a new terminology also. I think everything in a city of this geography is probably inner city or outer city or middle city or whatever. But yes, the effort is we're rolling out curricula that are associated with environmental and sustainability literacy, and that will be available to kids no matter what their background is, no matter what their income level may be or where they live in the District of Columbia.
And just to piggyback on what the mayor just said, in his FY15 budget, he built in funds for every 5th grader to have a meaningful overnight experience so that they can see, touch, and feel the environment that surrounds them. So,
thank you for that question. Mike?
2 questions. First, are there any things on this list where you think that you can make particular progress or expect to make particular progress in the next 9 months that you have left in your term? And the second question is, what's your message to your successors in terms of making sure that things stay on track with this plan?
Well, I think anybody who succeeds me in this job should stay the course with sustainability. You know, there are many things that are important in this city, Mike, but I don't think there's anything more important than this because it affects everybody in the District of Columbia. And, you know, as the population grows, we're at 647,000 now. Obviously, there are increasingly large numbers of people who are being affected by this, and some of those things will have an impact on our ability to incorporate an increasingly large population. The transit options, for example, happen to be one of those areas as we look at alternatives to automobiles, you know, the streetcars, the bicycles, and other options that will be available to people. So anybody who's in this job, you know, my immediate successor or anybody who inevitably succeeds them, they should be paying close attention to our sustainability efforts and, you know, continue to work to improve conditions here in the District of Columbia. I think there are 7 or 8, you know, areas overall, you know, like the built environment, energy, which we've talked about, food, nature, transportation, waste, and our waterways. I don't know that there's a particular area that I want to cite. We've managed to be able to work you know, in a focused way on all of these areas up to now. I think we have over 100 of these initiatives that are in the performance plans for our agency. So it's hard to say that you want to focus on one thing when you have them spread across the entire government. We've tried to prioritize them in certain areas, but again, you've got almost every agency of the government now working on these things. It may be that we find that 20 years was too long of a horizon to be able to work on these things, and we can get them done more quickly. That's why I think continuing to have a green cabinet, continuing to have a green committee will be important, because they will focus on the progress and can look at ways in which the city can update and expand what it is that we're doing. So I would say, Mike, continue to focus on these 7 areas that we've identified and the priorities that are within those 7 areas. And anybody who is in a job like this has to, in my opinion, pay attention to what the future of the environment in the city will look like. I think one of the things that will be important in the future is to increase the regional cooperation. One of the examples, frankly, is the Anacostia River. A lot of people don't know that we have only 18 to 20% of the river actually in the District of Columbia. And without regional cooperation, we'll never get the river to a point where it is fishable and swimmable because of the absence of engagement in the same way by others, you know, in the surrounding area, you know, other parts of Maryland, for example.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned getting rid of the styrofoam containers, I guess, that seem to be just anecdotally, at least, you know, favored by a lot of carry-out restaurants. How easy do you think that's going to, I guess, fly through the council and get to your desk? Is that something you expect a lot of pushback from? And then I was hoping Keith could elaborate a little bit more on that overnight program you mentioned for 5th graders.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know how difficult or not so difficult it will be. I think there's a compelling case for this. You just look at our river waterways, for example, and you see the styrofoam, the polystyrene, I guess is the technical name for it is, in the waterways. You look at the trash traps, the bandalongs that are, you know, capturing trash, and how much of that refuse is, you know, styrofoam or polystyrene, and what it does, you know, to our waterways as it, you know, decomposes, you know, over time. So I would hope, and one of our jobs is to educate, you know, those who may not be as educated as others in the legislative, you know, decision-making process about the importance of doing things like this. So I hope that the council will move quickly on this. I think we are saying we wouldn't have a full ban until 2017, 2018. So there's enough time for people to be able to use up the inventory they have and move to another way of, you know, of fulfilling this particular function. So there's a good transition period, but the transition absolutely needs to be made. You want to talk about the curriculum? I think that's what you were asking about too, right?
Well, one of the biggest challenges that I face is changing behavior. And what better place to start with our children? And we do that through the environmental literacy program. And one of the highlights for the program is when a child reaches the 5th grade is to take them on an overnight experience where they can see their environment. One of the organizations that we're working with is the Allison Ferguson Foundation that has a beautiful farm just on the banks of the Potomac River. And there the children can actually see how much trash actually comes down the river. They'll also be able to learn about composting, gardening, and various other things to put them in touch with their environment, to marry the theory with the practical, which they've learned over the years. So I think it's very exciting, and every fifth grader across the city will have the opportunity for that overnight experience. There's several partners, but that's one of the partners that we work with. All right.
Yeah, Keith was talking, and it jarred something loose in my head that I wanted to talk about. We actually last year developed a website, and it's based on real-use energy data that DGS gets from PEPCO in 15-minute increments, and we get it the next day. And we've mapped this data across our portfolio. Nearly every building in the portfolio now, if you go to buildsmartdc.com, you can go in and see the energy utilization, and we're building more data into it so it gives you more a broader range of facts and data. We believe that access to this information is going to play another role in helping to drive down energy use. So in partnership with District of Columbia Public Schools and Chancellor Henderson, we had a Green Schools Energy Challenge that concluded about a month ago. 28 schools participated, and literally just not by adding any additional technology to the schools or systems upgrades or anything like that, just information alone, children that were participating were able to log on, look at their energy use curve each day, and they began to shift their behavior. And we saw energy reductions. Some schools were in the 2 to 5% reduction range. A large cluster in the middle were, say, 12 to 15%, almost a 20% reduction. And then the top third, we had one school that had nearly a 30% reduction in energy use, which probably isn't sustainable over the long haul. But if you're basically, just by behavior, you get a 20-25% energy reduction. So that to me is something I thought that was very worth pointing out. Thank you. That's right.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That was at Langley, as they were pointing out. Any other questions or comments on the first year of our sustainability plan implementation? Again, I would just point out, take a look at the data on these placards around the room. 300,000 square feet of green roof just in 2013. That's pretty doggone extraordinary. Almost 10,000 trees that were planted. It actually is now 25 playgrounds that have been built or renovated over the last, I would say, 12 to 16 months. And there are 15 more to go that will be done in the next several months. So there will have been 40 by the time that process is completed. And then the idling mechanisms that are on the police cruisers, that is, if you haven't seen that, it really is, you feel like you're in Star Wars when you see it. You can stand next to the car and all of a sudden it starts up with nobody in it because it's the battery recharging the capacity of the police cruiser to be able to operate. And that's the future. That's the future where we're going. And I'm glad that we're very much a part of the future and setting a tone and getting other people to come here and see how it's done. So are there any other questions or issues? If not, for those who were just here for the sustainability announcements, thank you very much. And we'll take a minute, and then we'll move on to any other questions that folks may have.
Let me just say that after the questions, there will be tours of the solar farm. So if anyone wants to know that.
Pedro was reminding me that we're going to do tours. We have a solar roof here. That's one of the reasons why we came. And for those who haven't seen the solar roof, you can go up and take a look at it. And for those who may have problems with heights, like me, you don't have to go. We can tell you about it in graphic detail. All right. Any other questions on any other subjects, Mike?
Last week, the PERB ruled on the fire chief's proposal to change the firefighter ships, and basically said he can move forward with that. I mean, it's my understanding that the firefighters union is going to appeal that in the courts. But is it your intention to move forward with that in the coming months, or is that something for the new mayor to deal with?
No, we're here for 9 more months, or 8.5, 9, however long it may be, and we intend to work hard, as I've indicated, Mike, repeatedly, during the time that we are here. This is a proposal that we had on the table for quite a long time, and so we're happy with the PERB decision, and we intend to move forward with the implementation of the PERB decision. Paul, you want to add anything to that?
The issues facing the fire department are long-standing as far as staffing and having a sufficient number of firefighters who are within the immediate area. Our concern all along has been the District of Columbia is unique in that we are the nation's capital. We are a high target area, and so we always have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Having firefighters closer, more readily available, will allow us to be better prepared in the event that we have to deal with a threat to the district. It's the world that we live in, and so that's why we cannot wait. We need to proceed. We need to take the necessary steps to make sure that the district is as well protected as it possibly can be.
What's the timeline? I mean, what would still need to be resolved before this is actually implemented?
Well, actually, we want to sit down and meet with the union and others. We've started this process. I've had meetings with union officials along with the chief and others. So we want to continue that process and see if there isn't a framework that we can come together with and proceed. But the bottom line is this needs to be done, and we're going to move aggressively to make sure that we are properly staffed, that we have sufficient numbers of personnel here to take care of any emergency that may visit us.
Just to follow up, Mr. Mayor, I mean, during the campaign, virtually all of your opponents said they would replace Chief Ellerby, whether or not they agreed with had any opinion on the shift change. They rebuked the management of the department. Given your status, don't you think they're entitled to some deference in terms of how a change of this magnitude? I think what the city is entitled
to is leadership that recognizes that we're here for 8 to 9 more months, and there's certain things that we've stood for, and we will continue to work as long as we're here. Any other questions?
Budget autonomy is now in front of a federal judge. If that judge moves to uphold the budget autonomy referendum, will your Attorney General appeal that decision, or will you let that decision stand?
Well, we're still looking at it. Obviously, we have a position on it. And the GAO has, as you know, at the end of January, I think it was, or early February, issued a very strong position on the issue. There are concerns that we continue to have, and that is the 2 votes, which we believe is not supported. I know it's not supported by the Home Rule Act, and the 70-day period as opposed to the 56-day period. So it'll be interesting to see what the judge says, but there, to me, still continue to be conflicts in the Home Rule Charter and the legislation, which is now the subject of a review by the federal court. So hopefully he will reconcile those issues so we'll have good guidance.
If he reconciles it in favor that, yes, the budget autonomy referendum is valid, do you see any reason to take it to another level and
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he reconciles it. That's why the courts have been invoked in the first place, to try to get to a decision on this that would allow us to know what is the proper path forward. So hopefully, Judge Sullivan's decision in this will be clear enough so that we will know what the legally lawful, pathway is forward on this.
Just address, your discussions with the Attorney General. He's getting a lot of criticism from people in the voting rights movement, from some fellow lawyers saying, he did not have to take this aggressive tack against this referendum approach. did you ever consider going to him and saying, listen, Irv, it's time to sit down and let this take shape and claim this victory that we believe that we've earned? I mean, have you had that conversation with him?
No, and also the CFO is a party to this as well. The CFO, who is independent of us, has taken a very strong position, too, that this is not lawful. The GAO has taken a very strong position that is not lawful. You know, let me make something perfectly clear. I don't think anybody can argue with my commitment to and support for budget autonomy in the District of Columbia. I just want to get there on a lawfully correct pathway. And I, too, have, questions about whether this is the path. I mean, it just seems odd to me that, we could unilaterally change a federal law in this way. And if we find out that's the case, then we ought to just go ahead and declare ourselves a state as well and start operating as one. Elect a governor and a Speaker of the House and a President of the Senate and all of those things. So if that happens, Mike, maybe that's the next move, that we become a state, declared by the people of the District of Columbia ourselves.
Fair to say you're hoping to be on the losing end more or less of that case, so you'd like to see the referendum upheld, right?
Of course I would. I mean, I want to see budget autonomy as strongly as anybody else. So it's not whether I want to be on the, which end I want to be on. It's just a question of whether this is the pathway that gets us there.
Any concerns about the House Republicans looking at the decrim law now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is a local issue that our legislative body has acted on, that I have signed, and I don't think they should be involved in it.
You think it's
they're not having hearings on any laws in Chicago or Los Angeles or New York, are they?
Do you think it's going to go very far, or are you confident it's going to stand?
I can't hear you.
Do you think it goes very far, or are you confident it'll stand?
Do I think it goes very far?
In terms of, I guess, any sort of oversight and repeal, or do you think they're just going to make a little bit of noise and then it goes away?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say beyond the fact that they shouldn't be in this in the first place. It's a local issue, and I don't know that they get involved in any local issues anywhere else. This is a local issue, and that's where it ought to stay. We ought to have legislative autonomy. Maybe we should just declare that too, and that way we wouldn't have to worry about these kinds of things in the future. Thank you all very much.